welcome. My name is Amber Toole, and I'm so excited to be here tonight on the panel with these amazing people. And we are here to talk to you about it's none of your business, it's all of it. And our topic tonight is 2025 fitness marketing and sales tips, high impact, low cost. And let me tell you, we have got a great one for you tonight. So I'm very excited to take you through and let each of these amazing people introduce themselves, and then we will get into all of those tips and tricks for you. So I'm going to start off with Bob. Bob, tell us all about you tonight.
Okay, so I'm one of those strange fitness people. Strange because I didn't start in fitness. I started 13 years in corporate America first, business planning, market planning, project management. I stopped having fun after 13 years. I need to find something else. Okay, aerobics. What do you mean aerobics? I'm that old. Aerobics. Me, Jane Fonda. You'll find a picture of me someplace on the internet. Mustache, goatee, Van Dyke, mini afro, spandex, leg warmers, bandana, right ankle. Got into it, felt comfortable, crossed the river from New Jersey, New York City, big time. The club circuit. Jeff Martin, Molly Fox, everybody, Chuck Jim, Crunch, even Crunch. Then I was tapped on the shoulder, Equinox, second fitness director at Equinox to build a PT program there. After 5 years, I got ANSI, started consulting, clubs, studios, regionally, nationally, internationally. Focus, building a business for all the above, number one. Number two, helping new fit pros. That's my passion now, because they're not trained enough to be able to survive without getting trained in business. My job is to help them have a viable career. Number one. Number two, second piece, we have 80% of our population domestically who are outside our box. We have to engage those folks, bring them in. Second passion. Other than that, I'm ready to rock and roll.
All right. Thanks, Bob. And Chris, let's hear about you.
So I started off a million years ago, not as far back as Bob, but close. And I never wore that outfit, just for the record. No, but I personal trainer, group exercise instructor. So started on the front line, like many of you listening today. I love doing that. Grew from there. Ended up opening up a studio model, then a full service health club. So owned and operated those clubs for almost 20 years. And similar to Bob, moved into the area of consulting. So I've been blessed to have spoken in over a dozen countries and over 50 or over half the 50 states. We do workshops and trainings for studios, health clubs, and other businesses as well. My first book just came out, Fitness Facility Management, so that was pretty exciting as well. And then we do strategic partnerships with different organizations. So my company's called the Empower Group, and I think that's all you need to know about me.
Awesome, thanks. Okay, Trisha, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much. My name is Trisha Madden, and I'm here in Seattle, Washington. I got into the business a really long time ago when I sort of found my way from dance into fitness. I wanted to be a dancer, and somehow I got lucky enough to find a job in fitness through leaving the dance community. I was a marketing student, though. I was a I went to university as a marketing scholarship student. So my first love has always been entrepreneurship, marketing, sales strategies, PR, you name it. And, I've been a little bit in the business for about 30 years. And I think, the first thing I'd say is that what marketing started as and what marketing are two different stories. And I've just been super lucky that I've been able to listen and learn from both people ahead of me in 5 and 10 year increments, and the people younger than me that really understand marketing to the next generation. And so I'm business partners with one of those. My business partner is Lauren George. She is a marketing and business genius, and we own a company called Fit Pro Programming together, where we create programming and education for health club studios, high-end nonprofit, you name it, for clubs and studios around the world. So that's a little bit about me.
Great. And then Christine, tell us about you.
Hello, everybody. I'm excited, as I am for everything. I appreciate all of you showing up tonight because what a rock star group of panelists is what I'm going to say first, everyone. And Amber, thank you for being such a wonderful moderator. So for those of you who don't know me, I am greetings from the Jersey Shore right now. And like Bob, I was a New Yorker, born and bred. And I actually grew up, played volleyball at a pretty high level, and was an English and business major who just loved exercise science, but was always told, hey, you know, fitness is just a hobby. It's not a real business. Okay, this is what I love. Because what is so wonderful is that I've been in the fitness industry actually for over 20 years. And it wasn't a full-time thing for me until about 8.5 years ago, because I was an investment banker in New York City and did all the corporate things. And then I was an English teacher and a coach and all the certifications and did all my exercise science, and realized that, you know what, I think that this can actually work. So I've worked in big box gyms, boutiques. I've, you know, done corporate wellness, you name it, over the last 20 something years, just learning. And just like, you know, Bob, like aerobics, if you said, hey, I need you to do a 80s aerobics, you know, step, touch, chasse, you know, whatnot, that's, you know, we could do it in 5 seconds, right? Like Trisha, Steve, Chris, I don't know if you're going to be on this, but what kind of my passion is that I always knew that I wanted to change lives, right? This was a passion, and this is all about business today. And there's a point where you want to change lives, but we also want to pay the bills as well. So we'll get into this a little bit later, but I've kind of worked my way up. And part of what we're talking about with marketing, high impact, low cost, are some of the things that I use to go from, wow, I have no capital and I just quit my really great job and I was making all this money and I never had to worry about it, to making nothing, to now I just bought another company. So I'm now the CEO of FitFix Now, which is FITFIXNOW, which is one of the leading online continuing education companies out there right now. So I am super pumped to kind of go full circle of, I love fitness, to I'm in business, to, you know, I'm an educator, to now combining all of those kind of skills in a industry that I love. So that's kind of where I am. And there's, you know, books and races and all the things, you know, in between, but I'm here to share some of that with you today. So that's it.
Great. Yeah, we have a lot of people to learn from. And I'm going to start off with Chris with our first question. Chris, what are the most cost-effective guerrilla marketing tactics that have delivered real-world results for you?
So I'll answer really quickly to give all of our panelists a chance to chime in on this as well. But to Christine's point, a lot of times we get into this industry and we don't have a huge marketing budget like some of the big chains and the big clubs out there. So we've got to figure out these guerrilla ways to go about things, you know, really low cost, high return type of thing. So the first thing I will tell you is there's nothing better than referrals, right? When it comes to guerrilla marketing. And with referrals, you can create referral programs, referral incentives, but what I've seen is people refer because you do a great job and they want to send people to you. They want to be the hero, right? They want to be the one who said, well, I sent you to them and that's why you're so happy now and getting such great results. So with that, I always focus more on rewarding people who referred with something that was visible, like a t-shirt or something special that other people saw. So building referrals that way, but then also the personal invitation aspect of referrals, which we just forget. It's not necessarily just about giving out buddy passes or posting it on social. It's you as the fitness professional going, I would love to train more people just like you. I've got 3 open spots on my schedule right now. Who can you refer me that I can do that for, and give them a trial session? So there's nothing more powerful than a personal invite. Half the time I think because people feel really special when you do it. Other times I think it's guilt, but whatever works, right? And gets them in the door. Now, back to the more what people would consider traditional guerrilla marketing. In the old days, it was the lead boxes, you know, you could see all over town, fill this out. And somehow everybody won a free week and then one person won a free month. But, you know, putting flyers on people's, you know, all those are fine. But what I would recommend with that is do something that helps you stand out. We were talking about this really briefly pre-call, and Amber, I already sent you the advertising copy, so you'll have an example of it when you check your email. But we were close to a pizza shop at our club. And I think the ad said that we put on every single pizza box. So it was really inexpensive to print. And we partnered with them. I think we gave their staff a discount to join, but it said, A slice of pizza is 400 calories. Thank goodness we're only 400 steps away. So it was a clever thing that people remembered, not just a random flyer, not just a random lead box. We did the same thing partnering with a little coffee shop where we put it on coffee sleeves. So think of ways with your guerrilla marketing to keep it inexpensive, but make it memorable so that you stand out from the competition.
I love that. Bob, what about you?
You know what, Chris, you are devious, just like me. So, spinning off of Chris. So the issue with marketing is that we have three things we have to address. Number one, who we are, what do you do, and why should I come to you? So in my situation, I moved across the country, different spots: New York City, South Beach, Boca Raton, Florida, Wichita, Kansas, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Cincinnati, Ohio. So the issue was, who are you? What do you do? Why should I train with you? Now, here's my take. Cost effective though. Number one, I take group exercise classes. I go to a new facility. I go to the back of the room, not to the front row. No. Back of the room. So I start to move from the 5th row to the 4th row to the 3rd row. Who is that guy moving from the 5th to the 4th to the 3rd to the 2nd row? Awareness, one technique. Number two, I teach classes. I start teaching classes and I start recruiting people. Well, who's that guy with a funny accent? Awareness. Number two. Number three, I pick the toughest, the most aggressive group exercise instructor in the facility and I cut a deal. I will train you for free. No problem. Just be available. My perfect example, when I came back to Florida in Boca Raton, I trained Abby Apple. Wait a minute. You're training Abby? Why is Abby training with you? You must be good. Conversation. Abby's happy. I start training her husband. Why is Bob training Charlie? Well, I guess he must be good. Conversation. Awareness. Number two. Number three, I train trainers. Why are you training trainers? Because I'm improving their skill sets. Oh, I guess you must know somebody or you must know something. The same kind of things. I go after the owners. I go after the managers, create a presence. Again, I come into a cold market. No one knows me. So I either sink or swim, just be aggressive and have fun. You got to have fun with this whole process. But again, thank you, Chris. You gave me a good lead there.
And I will throw a couple of ideas in here too. So I have a studio in Ocala, Florida, and we are a fitness studio and a reformer Pilates studio. And we're a small business, so we don't have a huge budget to do a bunch of advertising, but some of the things that have really helped me or helped us grow is keeping our Google page updated. So really every week posting on Google, making sure that I put those little keywords in there, like our location and the different things that we offer, and putting pictures and videos and just all kinds of things on there, because if you do that, really great for the algorithm. That costs you nothing but a little bit of time. Another thing that is starting to be really popular for us, and we are getting a lot of calls from this, is I just made the little yard signs on Canva. You can do it on staples.com and then had those shipped. And instead of using the cheap little H frames to put it out there, I bought some really nice stakes that go into the ground, and we have a ton of traffic that comes by my studio, but we're kind of set off the road a little bit. So those signs with my big QR code on it, they can scan that QR code while they're sitting there waiting for the train to go by at my studio, and then it takes them to a little opt-in where I can grab their name and email address, and then I can market to them. So that's been some low-cost ideas of things that we've done for our marketing. Christine, do you have anything that you would love to add?
Sure. Number one, Bob does not have an accent to me. That's number one. Number two is what's really important, and I'm going to throw this out here, is that you need to show up. If you are a fitness person, right? You are in the fitness industry, go take classes. Go take classes at every gym that you can possibly imagine in your area. Because if you have a brick and mortar, like a lot of people that might be on this webinar right now, you may have a brick and mortar. You may not be like me, who's virtual. Like Christine's out here in the interweb. Okay. I worry about SEO and algorithms. All that stuff is my bread and butter. But if you actually have a brick and mortar, you need to go out and go take yoga, go take kickbox, you take all the classes, okay, because you want to meet those people. And I have to say, I have a good friend. She has a nutrition business, right? She does actually, prepackaged foods and things like that. The girl is everywhere, everywhere. And it's amazing because you strike up conversations. And, if I'm in class and if I'm in a class, right? And she'll come in, I'll be like, oh my gosh, do you know Stephanie? She owns blah, 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 and she does this. And there's the referral that we were talking about. There's the positive. She's not saying it, someone else is. And this is how this starts. And you'll be surprised because you want to get your first best client, right? Your first best client, like that's what Bob did. He goes to new places. All he needs is one, right? And then that person refers and that person, but it's not going to happen if you don't show up. So that's kind of one of my keys. And the other one is this quote that I heard recently, and I really I love this, and it was from it was the Idea Fitness Leader of the Year, Ingrid. She actually says, it's easy to quit a treadmill. It's hard to quit a friend. So I want you to think about that for a second, because when we develop, and this is what we're talking about, these relationships, it's really easy to say, oh, I hate that treadmill. Oh, I don't want to lift that weight, and not to show up to a place. But it's not a place anymore. It starts to become an experience. It starts to become a relationship. And that's when you have clients for life. We're not selling fitness as an end goal. Fitness is a lifestyle, but you can't instill that in someone until you have that relationship. So, I mean, I always think of my friends, it's really hard to quit me. It's really hard. I am very loyal. I'm a Capricorn. It's very difficult to quit me, but it's really easy to say, I don't want to go on that run today. But if I'm standing there, people will tell me I'm going on the run because I don't want to face Christine if I don't. But that's how important this is. So I'm going to leave it at that, but find your saying, find that, challenge yourself and say, all right, it's easy to quit a treadmill. It's hard to quit a friend. It's easy to quit eating right. It's hard to quit facing me because I do your nutrition. So whatever it is that you do, replace it. Think about that.
Great. Trisha, would you like to add anything here?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's touched on so many great ideas. I think my sort of add to this would be that, you can do some really simple things in social media that are both free and very effective. One of the things that if I had a brick and mortar or even a virtual space, I would look at what are the surrounding businesses. So if I'm in a neighborhood, what are some really successful businesses around me, whether or not they're related? You talked about, the pizza store, that's a great concept, but in social media, you can pull up really quickly who in your community is like an entrepreneurial hustler. Like, who is it in your community that has a voice with people outside of who you're reaching with your social media, and people who are willing to tell a story. And those are the people that you can engage within your social media posts, along with engaging and inviting them to, if there's a really incredible barber, for example, somebody who's like edgy and cool and has their materials out there on social media, I'm going to give them a free membership or free personal training, or even a transformational package, maybe serve them for 6 weeks and let them tell my story. There's no greater marketing investment than in somebody who actually can sneeze to the rest of the community what you do and who you are. And the lucky part about that is that now social media makes that really easy, right? You don't have to be at a dinner table and hear about a really incredible busser or hostess at a restaurant that tells everyone what they love. You can actually look on the internet and search hashtags in your area for different services and different like-minded businesses that maybe aren't competitive, and then invite them to participate. So you always want in your community, you want the biggest voices who have a consumer that maybe you don't already have, and you then want them to tell the story about how great your services are. So it's just, it's free, and it's an easy way to tell your story without spending money.
Love it. That's great ideas from everybody. Let's dig in a little bit about AI. So how can fitness professionals use AI tools to create impactful, budget-friendly social media campaigns that drive sales? Trisha, I kind of feel like because you were talking about the social media, do you want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, I mean, AI is an amazing tool, right? Like that you can put in, create an image of a personal trainer helping somebody, with this, issue or concern. Marketing tools are really simple in AI right now. The problem is unless you and your AI tool have a very good relationship and the AI knows your brand and knows what best represents you, you're probably going to get stuff that you might see. I see a lot of stuff on LinkedIn where I'm like, ugh, it's a terrible AI generated image. So we have to make sure that the AI can assist us in creating those marketing tools, but also still represent our brand. You always need to be on brand. And even though AI can do it cheaply and give you lots of options, if it shouts that it was created by AI, that's going to come across very clearly. So I like to use AI in marketing to find out things like, hey, tell me the best hashtags right now for my community with like these 3 goals. I like to ask AI to do a lot of things. Right now, in terms of AI design, in terms of marketing tools, you really have to plug in your images, your branding, your colors, and then you also need to tell AI who your target audience is, and then also tell AI who your target growth opportunity is from an audience or consumer perspective. And when you give it all that information, sometimes you get something great, but also sometimes its intuition is not as strong as yours. So AI is close from a design and marketing place to really understand you, but it's not quite to a place where you can just drop it in and expect genius work. But a fun tip for all of you is to ask your AI to roast your social media account. So if you ever want to laugh really hard, you can use me as an example. Just type in roast at Murph Madden, because it is so spot on and so mean and so rude. It'd be like going on Comedy Central's roast. It's brilliant. So if you can't get it to design you the perfect marketing tools tonight, get it to roast. That's my tip of the day.
I love that. We're all doing that as soon as we get off of this webinar tonight. So I use ChatGPT a lot, and just like Trisha was saying, you do have to get it to know you, and there are ways that you can make that happen. In fact, I do a session on this at SCW Manias if you ever want to come to my Create Content to Boost Sales, and I'll tell you all about how to do that. But you do need for it to learn your brand voice. And one of the things that I find is very helpful for, although I feel like I'm a decent writer, sometimes we just have so much to do as a business owner that I don't feel like writing an email sequence to sell something. So I can go in and tell ChatGPT that, this is my target audience. I would like for you to write this in my tone of voice, and this is what I'm trying to sell. And then from there, it gives me a template that I'm able to take and, obviously make it sound more like how I want it to sound. We were talking about this before we came on, and Christine was saying, it doesn't give you jokes. Like Christine is funny. She has jokes, and ChatGPT doesn't include those. So that is something, it does take a little bit of the work off of your table. But if you don't like to write, this is a great way to help you get some really great content from that. Anybody else want to share what they use AI
Yeah,
for?
you said something, you said tone. And you and I did a panel in Atlanta a year and a half ago. And your accent and my accent are so distinct that when we're together, it creates like this thing of authenticity. And my hesitancy initially with AI was that if someone sees something from me and it's not from me in terms of my background and my accent and my tone, they can say, that's not Bob. But because of everything we're talking about, it's there. And people know
It
it's
is.
not that I want to be artificial, I want to be real, but that's part of what makes us us. And people embrace and want to come to us because you have your accent from the South, I have mine from the South Bronx, whatever, but it's part of that engagement technique that makes us real. And as Christine said, we show up, but we show up with who we are. Authentic.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris. Oh, wait, unmute.
It's my first Zoom. I can't figure out how to unmute, and I'm going to talk about the AI technology. It's amazing. What a professional. So here's the thing. AI is here. There are people that are still hesitant. We got some great tips from our panelists already on how to do it right. But I was on a webinar a few months ago with Dr. Ted Vicky, and he said it best, because some people are like, it's going to replace trainers. It's going to replace instructors. No. AI won't replace you, but fitness professionals that use it well will replace you. So you need to adopt it. You need to learn to use it based on all the tips that y'all have shared with the audience so far, because it is here to stay and it is here to continue to evolve and get better. I mean, I'm still amazed sometimes. To your point, Amber, you mentioned being a good writer. I mean, I just wrote the book, and I'm like, I think I'm a pretty good writer. And sometimes I'll write something, put it in ChatGPT, and literally just say, write this better, and it does, and I'm blown away. So the bottom line is, as you know, often many of us are smaller operations, smaller studios or independent trainers or group exercise instructors. Using AI properly, like Canva and ChatGPT and these other tools, allows us some scale to kind of compete with the bigger organizations that have these massive budgets and dozens of people on their marketing team. If you learn to use these tools right, now you can hang with those big operators and come across as just as professional and do just as good a job. And then just on a little side note, and I mentioned this prior to the call, if you haven't seen Google Notebook LM yet, it's a new AI tool. And I took an article I wrote for the Athletic Business Journal and I plugged it into it, and I hit this thing that said, create a podcast. And within 5 minutes, it was a 17-minute podcast, random voices. It wasn't my voice, but a total interview about my whole article, and it was spot on. So, be on the lookout for what's coming. Apple just released Apple Intelligence. There's just so many incredible tools coming out, but they only work if you follow Christine, Trisha, Amber, and Bob's advice about still, double checking it, making sure it's correct, using it, letting it learn your voice, and making sure that it accurately reflects you.
Yeah, that's great. And really quickly, we have a little something we want to share with you. So we're going to put up a little quick blurb. It'll take 30 seconds and we'll be back with another great question.
Is your fitness business ready for a boost? Zen Planner is here to help. Our software simplifies success by handling the heavy lifting in your operations. Designed by industry experts, we provide tailored solutions that let you focus on what matters most. Fuel brand loyalty and turn your passion into profit with our lead-generating tools. Zen Planner supports your business journey every step of the way. Visit zenplanner.com today.
All right, thanks a lot for that little quick commercial break. And we are back, and I'm going to throw over to Christine a little question here. And Christine, I want you to tell us what low-cost strategies have successfully optimized sales funnels and increased conversions for you.
All right, let's first talk about people that have brick and mortars. Because there's two separate types of people. I said before, there's the people that have the brick and mortars. You have to build community in your community. And then there's the people that are more online that do, you could be training someone if you're in California, in the UK or whatnot. So the first thing is that one of the best things that you can do, we talked about the pizza box and the going in and showing up, is that you do have to get out into your community. You have to do that. But that doesn't just mean, hey, I'm going to show up to a class. Yes, you do have to speak, but when you do collaborate, it is really important to cross market, to say to someone, hey, I do this. This is what I'm good at. And I think that we could do a great job. Here's an example. Because I do, sometimes I love to do things in my community. I want to be a part of my community. I think it's important to be someone of service and to give back in this world. So there's a woman I know, she's got a really successful, she does a lot of styling. She's a stylist. Great. Guess what? I said, hey, what would be really cool? Can we collaborate? I'll come over and you could dress me up, whatever. You give away a big discount. I give away some different recovery tools or whatnot. We cross promoted to both of our markets. Again, her market is very local, right? I'm helping her with the people I know. She's helping me with the people I know, with followers, with social media, there you go. Because that if someone is maybe into style, they're into health and maybe into the going to yoga and taking care of themselves. And so it's finding some of these cross promotions in your area. That's number one. Just like the pizza box. Hey, how can I help? And that is so easy. It's not worth, really, you're not paying money. But that's where it could start, those collaborations. I do want to mention too, that it's really important to be involved maybe with the schools or any sort of groups in your area too. If someone comes and says hey, will you buy a raffle ticket to help the Girl Scouts or help my son's cross country, whatever, do it. Okay. Don't be the Grinch. Okay. The holidays are coming. Those things kind of come back to you. And I think sometimes we underestimate the power of something very little. So just keep that in the back of your mind. The second thing, if you do have, if you are someone that, hey, I'm not going to gain a lot from, going into my community and going to a farmer's market and being like, I have online fitness, continuing education. People would be like, okay, I just wanted to buy a cucumber and maybe some lettuce. That is not a big sell for me. However, what would be a great sell is, hey, you know what? The fitness people in my community, this is what I do. Maybe it's something that your fitness, group instructors would be interested in. And now thinking on bigger pictures. Wow, this person I know owns multiple gyms and facilities, and I've worked with this company before. And I go into your background and who do you know that has products that can be something that you can cross promote? Today, for example, I'll give you a today one, right? A good friend of mine. Okay. She just started a business with, advertising trainers, right? And I said, hey, I have a huge list of trainers and people in fitness industry. Why don't we cross promote each other? They'll get to know what you do. And guess what? Everyone needs continuing ed, whether it's from me or somebody. I want you all certified and you're sharing your contact list. That's where it starts. So those are my things that cross promote, whether it's local or it's on a bigger scale. And it's genuine. You're promoting the other person and it costs zero money.
Yeah. Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, Christine, we have that Jersey symbiotic thing going on. So here's the challenge. The networking is fantastic. Now we have experienced fit pros, we have newbies coming up, and I work with both sides. So the most inexperienced, through no fault of their own, I want to be clear, it's not their fault, they don't know any better. So when they come out of the gate, what they market and what they position in terms of who they are, they talk about their credentials, a training session, a package, and a pricing option, which is entirely wrong. To your point, Christine, we got to talk about an experience, an expectation, a set of value propositions, and a customer-centric solution. So it changes the conversation. We're not talking about price anymore. We're talking about value. So the value is who, what, why. That should be part of that whole concept, as to get the word out, to get the message out as to who you are. who you are, why should I come to you? What am I going to get from you? It's so profound. But that little pivot makes the difference between being poor and being able to pay your bills.
Chris, yeah.
Yeah, and just from a really quick tactical standpoint too. So, as a consultant, I speak at a lot of different events on a regular basis. And one thing I will do from a low cost standpoint is I create a QR code that somebody can scan if they want a copy of my slide deck. So they scan it, they put their name, their email, and then what I do from there is I send them the slides, thank them for being there, and I say, by the way, keep your eyes on your inbox. I send out valuable tools, tips, and information on a regular basis, which I really do. I hope they're valuable. But it's not like all of a sudden I'm just marketing like buy this, buy that. And I will tell you, there's a good return on that if you just put out great content. The sales cycle for a personal trainer sometimes is longer, right? People think they can do it on their own. They try, and at some point, for some reason, they're like, you know what? I got to get some help. And they realize it. And if you've been providing them with good content and advice along the road, you're going to be the first person that comes to their mind. It's the same thing with, consulting. I'll send articles and tips and operational stuff, to all of these different organizations. And I get a reply fairly frequently to an email that says, maybe budget season just rolled around. They're like, hey, we want to do a training like we're going to do one in Arizona. They're opening a big rec center and they want to do customer service training with their staff. And that came off an email that had nothing to do with customer service. It was just they're used to reading the emails, getting good info, timing hit right. So build a list, provide great content. Every once in a while, hey, I'm running a special, I'm running a sale, but just keep building the trust and the relationships. And then you become the go-to authority. So when that need arises, they come to you.
Yeah. I'm on your email list, Chris, and you do give really great information. You got me with that QR code. Trisha, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I mean, for me, low cost is sometimes all about really engaging your truest fans. So, if you are a brick and mortar or a virtual studio or whatever whatever business you're engaged in, you can take the people who are your truest fans, the front row of a group fitness class, the most successful personal training clients, the people who, are lined up at the door at 4:45 a.m. for the opening of the door at 5 a.m. You have to remember your truest fans, those people that that bite on everything you do and maybe even drive you crazy. Maybe these are the people that if they're in their group fitness class, they think that they could do your job and they're constantly talking to you. These are also your truest fans. These are the people that are in the community. They're at dinner parties, spilling the beans about your business. And I call them sneezers. So members or customers, people that go out in the community or they're in the locker room or wherever they can spread the germs of like, I love this business. I love what they do. These are your truest fans. And whether you start with one or two truest fans, you can engage them for free or relatively low cost. Obviously, like, every time a member joins and says Bob's name, right, they get a free t-shirt or something of that sort. You can also do it in different ways. If you're doing product launch, if you're doing a program launch or a training launch, or you're bringing on a new trainer, use those truest fans, those people who love what you do, and give them the service ahead of time. Give them the service for free. Let them believe that they are important in that sales process, and that because they are such a big fan of yours, you're going to give them a sample of the experience ahead of time. When I owned a club, I never launched programming to the entire membership. I only launched it to my truest fans. So the people who were really like engaged with group fitness, if there was a new group fitness class, they were VIPs at the official launch, and everybody else wanted to be on that list, and they became our truest fans. So really engaging, I just call them the sneezers, the people that share your message are actually, that's your it's so free, right? It's free. What we end up doing, especially in the health club businesses, we oftentimes listen to the squeaky wheel. We listen to the one person that isn't happy. Even in the fitness industry, I've seen organizations who will send out surveys and they'll listen to one person out of 50 who evaluated the conference or the education or the product negatively, and they'll literally let that one, like you, even in college, you drop the, the worst scores and the best scores, and you look at the average. Well, if you run a brick and mortar facility, you need to stop listening to the one person who complains about everything and start listening to the 5 people who love what you do, because you can just serve them up more of what you do, and they'll just serve that out to the community.
It's a great idea there. We've touched a little bit about or on digital marketing, but I just want to make sure that we haven't missed anything, because you guys have given some great ideas about collaboration, and we've talked a little bit about social media, but is there anything you want to add about how digital marketing can be used effectively to reach broader audiences without breaking the bank?
I think one of the questions that I'm getting from the conferences and my coaching sessions, how do I know if it's working? Okay, so from a newbie, a new standpoint, when you start building your clientele, every contact in front of you is what I call a cold call. They don't know you, you don't know them. So as you start rolling out your campaigns, the cold situation becomes warm, lukewarm, warmer. As they get to know you more and more, the shift starts to come from a pricing conversation to a value conversation. So if you find yourself going from cold to lukewarm to warm, you're on the right track. The goal is to go hot. So when you have a hot contact in front of you, the only conversation is, can you fit me in? Perfect example. A buddy of mine, friend of mine, initially I was his mentor for years in Minneapolis. Very shy, very reserved. He built his business up. He works for Lifetime in Minneapolis right now. He used to work 7 days a week, every morning, early afternoon, every night. He finally evolved where he works 5 days a week, no afternoons, no nights, no Saturday and Sunday. Someone comes to him and says, I got to train with you. You got to put me in. I don't care where it's at. He comes back. I have an opening, 5 a.m., Tuesday morning, Thursday morning. I'll take it. That's where you want to go. So if it's working, they'll come to you and not talk about price. I don't care what you have available. I will take it, take it, take it. You're doing it right. Absolutely. Bravo.
The other thing too is with social media, you'll know you're doing it right because people will say, oh, I watched your video the other day, or they'll say back to you things that you've said. I had somebody say something about a video and I was like, when was that? It must have been like months ago, but they had found it and said that. So that's how you know, because people will start saying things to you about, I watched your video or your reel or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, Chris, unmute.
I should have an AI tool that unmutes me. Just real quick on digital marketing, you got to leverage Google My Business. It's free and it helps improve SEO. So that's one thing that if you're going to spend some time and not break the bank, that's a free way to do it. That's going to immediately improve your traffic. So, focus on building that out and leveraging your Google My Business.
I'm going to second that on Chris with the analytics. Watch them, like actually watch them. And if you get a monthly report of, if you have a website, like how many people have visited it, where are they from, what are they, those are things that you should be looking at all the time. And a lot of the analytics right now are free. If you have a, account or whatnot, take a look. The one thing that I wanted to add to that is consistency. I'm going to, as a marathoner and do Ironman, whatever, I know what consistency and discipline and listen, you can be better at me and in so many other things, but you're never going to out patience me. It's not going to happen because this stuff doesn't happen overnight, right? So this is what we have to think of. You're not going to see, hey, I did 2 weeks of, posting consistently on my Instagram. Why hasn't it grown to 8 billion followers? You know why? Because you're not a Kardashian. That's why. This is what's happening. So we have to be realistic when we're talking about some of these tactics right now, because it takes time. And one of the best examples that I have is when I transitioned from, my corporate and my teaching jobs to whatever the hell I do now, right? The first thing I did was, hey, how do I get my voice out? And social media, yes, is great. It still wasn't as big as it is now, but I started a podcast. Many of you know, I've been podcasting now for 8.5 years. And that podcast, I didn't do it to say, hey, I'm going to, be a Joe Rogan and have a bazillion, followers and get, again, I accept that. If you want to sponsor my show, that's great. But what that did was open up opportunities, right? To talk to people. Hey, I would love to feature you on my show. And it gives them free marketing. Again, it gives a reason to talk to someone without being like too salesy, right? And what I want to tell you is that podcast changed my life just because we were consistent. So the statistics right now are that there's about only 25% of the podcasts that start ever make it to 10 episodes, 10, right? Most of them fail. You know why? Because people aren't consistent. They're not patient. So to everyone's point that you've been talking about with, hey, you go out and do this or that, if you're not consistent with it, none of what we said is going to work. If you're not consistent with your AI, with your guerrilla marketing, with what you're doing. So I've done one podcast a week for 8.5 years. One. Okay. And that consistency has increased SEO. And like, I'd like to say, has everyone Googled their names? Has everyone Googled their names to see where they show up? Okay. Because if it's not first or the first 3, y'all better start writing articles, get articles out, get blogs out, go try and do podcasts, do whatever you possibly can. The more your name is mentioned, the higher up on the search. Mm-hmm. That in and of itself will help you locally. It will help you nationally, globally, but without consistency, nothing's going to happen.
Yep. And now we've got just a couple of minutes. So I want to ask this really important question, and everybody give us about 30 to 45 seconds. We're going to start with Trisha. What proven methods help retain members on a tight marketing budget?
Oh gosh. I mean, retention is all about communication. So if you are trying to retain members and you are afraid to communicate with them, or you're afraid to keep them engaged, you are going to lose them. I've worked for health clubs that actually don't want to email the members because they don't want to remind them that they're paying dues every month. And it always makes me laugh when I hear those things. So one of the easiest simple tools is to consistently communicate the good things that are happening in the club, the innovative things that are happening in the club, and then also sometimes the things that maybe aren't so popular, but because you've been communicating, the good and the innovative, the not such good news, if you have to get rid of the leg press or the yoga 9:15 class that everyone loves, those things become less appalling to the member. So communication, consistency, I feel like that is sort of the number one way to make sure members feel like they are a part of your community in some way, that they're not just renting your treadmill or your leg press on a consistent basis.
Awesome. Chris?
Oh, I'm not muted. Fantastic. I figured it out by the very last question. I'm good. I would definitely take my advice. At least it's not on technology. Well, it sort of is. Anyway, no, it's engagement. It's building a community. I mean, that there's no secret to that. I like what Christine said earlier, is that people, which you said, I think you said they'll quit treadmills, but they won't quit you. Right. And I remember early in my career, I saw a presenter, and he wrote on one of those dry erase boards. He said, people don't quit gyms, GYMS, or people quit gyms, GYMS, but they don't quit gyms, JIM'. After being the grammar police, and I was like, gyms what? I realized he meant just gyms plural, right? But people will quit a gym, but they don't quit people. So engage, provide good content, provide a great service, right? You've got to get people results. Bob's mentioned this a bunch today. What problems are we solving for people? You got to solve those problems. If you're not solving the problems, I don't care how nice you are or the community you build, at some point they will move on. So solve their problems, engage regularly. I think I've heard the word a bunch of times on this webinar from all our panelists, be authentic, care and do right by people. And again, just engage and build those relationships. And that's free.
Yeah, it is. Christine, do you have anything to add?
I am just going to finish by saying it's the value, right? We've got to get past the here's my this and this and 50% off this and whatever. Listen, once you build your value and they love you, you don't have to come out with coupons like this all the time. We're underselling ourselves. People will buy you, all right? You care. And to Trisha's point, it's the value that talk about the value all the time. If you're going to go on social media, if you're going to have a newsletter, hit on a pain point. What's a pain point? Are you a busy parent that's exhausted and doesn't have Hey, have you tried this? Or my biggest posts are like when I take you into my pantry, they're like, oh, she probably eats all healthy. And I'm like, here's the crunchy bags of Cheetos. And here's the show. And here's how I overcome that. That is building, here's who I am and here's what I can provide. So that's it.
Great. Bob, wrap it up.
Okay, from a entry trainer, experienced trainer, entry-level trainer, again, through no fault of their own, and I'm not blaming them, but this is reality. They look at getting or recruiting that first client. That's their focus. As we get more mature and understand how to grow a business, our focus is we're always going to go to recruit that customer, number one, keep that customer, number two, and get referrals, number three. That's part of our business growth plan. But to keep them, to Chris's point, we create a community that's specific to them. It's all about them. We're the facilitator. That's all we are.
Yeah. And just remember that you're there to help people. And I think that when you show your clients and your members that you love them and care for them and that you want them to have great health so that they can live a super long life, they feel that love and care from you, and then they're in that community that you have built. So all of y'all have been amazing tonight. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be your host, your moderator. And we have one more little video we want to show you before we end, but definitely thank you to all of you, and I can't wait to see you again soon. Thanks so much, and y'all have a great night.